1,000 years ago, a civilization stood at a crossroads. Its empire, the first largest the world had ever seen, had fallen. Its language was slipping away. Its stories, once passed from generation to generation, were on the brink of being forgotten forever, with a new religion and language replacing them, with many ancient books whether getting destroyed or falling to the neglect of the passing time. But one man refused to let that happen. His name was Ferdowsi, and what he created would shape the identity of millions for over a millennium. In the 7th century, Persia, a name known to the Western world, while being known as Aryanam or later Iran Shahr, stretching from the river of Indus in the east to the Euphrates River to the west, once ruled by powerful kings of kings, fell to Arab conquest in its weakest time. With this shift came profound cultural change. Arabic became the dominant language of administration, science, and literature. Persian, the language of the Aryan people, which meant the noble people, began to fade from intellectual life. For many, after 3 centuries of being under the Arab rule, this became simply the way of life, adapting to survive. However, thanks to the new rulers rising in the east, a place known as Khorasan, patriotism found itself yet again, giving rise to many poets, writers, activists, and scholars to pursue the growth of their heritage and culture. One of those poets was known as Ferdowsi, who made it his life's mission to revive Iranian history and culture through writing, honoring the works of many before him who did the same, dedicating their lives to this noble endeavor. Born around the year 940 in northeastern Iran, the greater city of Khorasan, in a town known as Tus, Ferdowsi grew up surrounded by the echoes of a lost world. Stories of ancient kings, legendary heroes, and epic battles still lived in the hearts of the people, but they were fading. He expressed deep concern that the Persian identity preserved in Iranian poetry, language, and heritage could soon vanish, and the cruel passing time, just like many great empires before, would make them disappear as if never existed. Looking at ancient ruins, palaces, statues, and great reliefs from great kings such as Shapur and Ardashir, and their victorious and legendary battles, telling vivid stories of those times, were falling to ruins of time, wind, and rain. And that is if they even survived battles, foreign invasions, and religious and dogmatic conflicts. While thinking and contemplating, he realized something profound. If these stories were not written down, they would surely vanish forever. He famously wrote in his book, Shahnameh, that stones and palaces will fall to rain and wind, but the stories are eternal and outlast the passing of time for eternity. بناهای آباد گردد خراب ز باران و از تابش آفتاب. Developed structures will fall and will be gone from rain and constant rays of the sun. پی افکندم از نظم کاخی بلند که از باد و باران نیابد گزند. Through organized thoughts and poetry I will build a skyscraper of a palace that even wind or rain would never ruin it through their malice. So he made a decision that would define his life. He would preserve them, all of them, even if it meant devoting his life to it, losing his wealth and health. But he was driven by something greater, a noble sense of patriotism and sacrifice, a vision that kept him going every day through the shifting tides of power and battles to rule and take over ancient lands.
به تو قسم یزدم به تو قسم یزدم به تو قسم یزدم ایران شهر
Ferdowsi began writing what would become one of the greatest literary works in human history, the Shahnameh, or the Book of Kings. Shah simply meaning king, a term which is even used in modern chess, a game which originated from India and further developed in Persia and then spread to Europe. Shah is used in the term checkmate, with the original term being Shah Mat, meaning the king is stunned, not to be mixed up with the Arabic word Maut, meaning dead, and the word Nameh means book, which originates from the Pahlavi text, the language spoken by the Sassanids, or the Middle Persian Nameh. Today's in modern Parsi language, or mispronounced as Farsi due to Arabic influence, Nameh means letter, and we instead use the term kitab for book, which is a loan word from Arabic. Moving on, Shahnameh was no ordinary poem. It would grow to over 50,000 verses up to 60,000, or poetic couplets, with the end words usually rhyming, longer than many of the world's greatest epics combined. Each couplet and each chapter would tell a story, and usually all of them would have hidden double meanings, with the book being so legendary that many people still read it today, and they say how it relates to the current climate of the world and even personal experiences and circumstances. And when I said earlier that Ferdowsi would dedicate his life to this noble cause, it would take him more than 30 years to complete. 3 decades devoted to a single purpose, saving the soul of a civilization. And the most noble part of his work was that he used his own personal assets to fund his book. His life could be said to be as dramatic as the epic stories within his book. He didn't have steady royal funding for most of his work. In fact, much of his life was marked by financial struggle, personal loss, and sacrifice. Ferdowsi was born into a land-owning family, being of a dehqan class in Khorasan. Dehqan class were, in other words, landlords, who would serve as the backbone of rural administration, collecting tax and providing military support to the governors, starting from the Sassanid era to early Islamic periods. They operated as lower-class aristocracy, maintained Persian cultural identity and local power, being a link between lower-class commoners and central government. Ferdowsi would use the money from his inherited estate to fund his passion project, which would grow to become, if not the most, one of the most valuable Persian assets in history, something he wouldn't unfortunately live to learn about. Ferdowsi, to sustain himself, his travels, book purchases of ancient Iranian history from Sassanid period, and older writers such as Daqiqi, would go on to even sell his lands and live more modestly amongst other commoners to reduce and control his spendings, and effectively lower his social class status voluntarily, making a huge sacrifice for completing this book, which would outlive many palaces and structures, as he predicted. As this was a huge project requiring constant research, book reading, and writing, his work did not provide him a steady income, and due to that, he went from relative comfort to financial hardship. Eventually, managing to complete this Goliath of a book, he expected to receive a handsome reward from the current ruler, who overtook the previous ruler, known as Mahmud Ghazni, who instead of the promised gold, provided Ferdowsi with silver coins, being much less valuable than what was promised. Ferdowsi as a result felt betrayed and deeply insulted, who interestingly wrote a satirical poem mocking the ruler, Mahmud, but unfortunately this book seems to have been lost. As a result of his satirical book, based on some records and claims, he fled to avoid punishment, passing away in his own hometown of Tus. Legends say when Mahmud Ghazni eventually discovered the monumental work Ferdowsi had completed and its prestige, he sent the 60,000 gold coins through a caravan to be given to Ferdowsi as an apology, 1 gold coin for every verse. But by the time that the caravan arrived at Tus, Ferdowsi had died already. Ferdowsi's personal life was not only hindered by financial difficulty, it was also struck by tragedy and personal loss. His son died at the age of 37, which caused Ferdowsi great grief, which can be even seen through the lamenting and tragic tone of stories like Rostam and Sohrab, a tragic legend about the loss of a son, the son of an invincible hero. whose only loss will be the tragedy of his son, something more painful than anything else he could have experienced. Some tragic examples written in Shahnameh are as followed. مرا بود فرزند و شد رفتنی ز کار جهان دل شدم کندنی. I had a son and it was fate to make him depart. From the world and its matters my heart was torn apart. جوانی برفت و مرا پیر کرد دل پیرم از رنج دلگیر کرد. The youth departed and left me old. It made my old heart through pain tight and cold. نه دیدار او ماند و نه بوی او دل من پر از درد و گفتگوی او. Neither his visits or smell left any trace. My heart aches, full of pain, just memories of him left in place. These profound cathartic couplets could be described as a way of coping and to pour his heart out from this tragic loss, leaving him isolated at an old age. He lived his life through isolation, being the only person working on this masterpiece, yet lived in constant uncertainty of his own future, and if this book will actually get the praise it truly needs, and if it would even be preserved for the future generations, or fall forgotten to the cruelty of the passing time. Throughout his life, he suffered greatly. Suffered through financial struggles after giving up his personal wealth for his mission, lost a beloved son, his only companion, and was persecuted and lived in exile, going court to court for protection, and didn't even get the reward that he hoped for. And worst of all, his work wasn't taken in high regard immediately after he completed it. So he didn't even see the fruit of his hard work. But I am certain he had a higher noble goal and he achieved it. And within himself, he knew that this would be a national pride and a proof of ancient heritage. The Shahnameh tells the story of Iran from the beginning of time to the fall of its last pre-Islamic empire. It is filled with larger-than-life characters. A mighty hero who could defeat armies alone. A tragic father and son locked in battle without knowing each other's identity. A tyrant king with serpents growing from his shoulders. These are not just stories. They are the myths, values, and memories of an entire people. It is difficult enough to give a justified, summarized description of this masterful book. That is why I will leave that for another video or several upcoming videos, diving deep into its legends and different stories. But what makes Ferdowsi's work truly revolutionary is the language that he chose. At a time when Arabic dominated literature, Ferdowsi wrote almost entirely in the Persian language, pure Persian, not even loan words from Arabic. This was a bold decision. It wasn't just about storytelling, it was about identity. By writing in Persian, he proved that the language was not only alive, but powerful, expressive, and worthy of greatness, telling these fantastical stories. It depicted how this language, these stories, the traditions, lessons, culture, and behavior, science, technology, and knowledge, thousands of years went into them, and many different ancient civilizations were Persianized or were absorbed into the culture, or many things were inspired by them. Kingdoms and empires such as the ancient Sumeria, Babylon, Assyria, Armenia, Sogdia, and Bactria, Greece, Anatolia, Lydia, Elam, Media, Parthia, and many more. Ferdowsi's book created a bridge between two worlds. On one side was ancient Iran, its kings, its beliefs, its traditions, and its religion of Zoroastrianism. On the other was a new Islamic society shaped by different influences. Instead of letting the past disappear, Ferdowsi connected it to the present. He showed that identity is not something that vanishes with conquest or even religion. It evolves, but it endures and persists. At its heart, the Shahnameh is about more than kings and heroes. It is about timeless human values, justice, honor, loyalty, and the eternal struggle between good and evil, the light over darkness, or the truth, Asha, over deception, Durush, which is the core belief in Iranian culture and Zoroastrianism. Ferdowsi even makes remarks about the Zoroastrian god Ahura Mazda and pays his respects as if he is deeply believing in the teachings of its prophet Zarathustra or Zarathusht, but someone who has adapted to the new religion and its costumes. These themes resonated deeply with generations of Iranians. They weren't just reading stories. They were seeing reflections of themselves and their identity and the things that they believe and the root origin for them. The theme and the ending of the book and its many stories, despite displaying the grand and fantastic victories of Persia, it displayed how it had fallen to foreign invaders and that further invasions will happen again and they will be inevitable. He rightfully predicted the Mongol invasion, which soon followed in the next 2 centuries, being catastrophic to Iran, killing an estimate of 80% of its population and the destruction of many of its ancient cities. Regardless, his work stood the test of time, invasions, intentional cultural destruction attempts, and much more. One of the most powerful stories in the Shahnameh is the tragedy of Rostam and Sohrab, a father and son separated at birth. Years later, they meet at the battlefield as enemies, neither knowing the other's identity. They fight, and the father kills his own son. Only afterward does he discover the truth, when the half-living son is in his arms. It is a story of fate, loss, and the devastating consequences of ignorance, and it has moved readers for over 1,000 years. This in a way could draw parallels to Ferdowsi's own tragedy of losing his son, which deeply grieved him. I can only imagine what was going through his mind, and if he was crying while writing those marvelous poetic couplets that brings a tear to your eyes. When Ferdowsi finished the Shahnameh, he had done something extraordinary. He had preserved not just stories, but identity. His work ensured that future generations would know where they came from, their heroes, their history, their values. Today, more than 1,000 years later, his influence is still everywhere. His words are recited, his stories are taught, his legacy lives on. If only he was alive to see this. Every household in Iran or any Iranian household abroad usually has a copy of Ferdowsi's Shahnameh, or at least they know by heart several couplets that relate to them even till today, as Shahnameh is a timeless work of art. For many Iranians, the Shahnameh is more than literature. It is a symbol of resilience, a reminder that even in times of great change, a culture can survive, a language can endure, and a people can remain connected to their past. As he said, a palace can be destroyed, but an idea lives on. Ferdowsi did not command armies. He did not rule an empire. But through the power of words, he achieved something just as lasting. He saved the civilization's memory, and in doing so, he he gave generations a sense of who they are. This was just a short video dedicated to this great man, and no amount of words are enough to be said in his honor. And this word doesn't do him justice. I feel as an Iranian and as someone who can still speak Parsi and inherit this great heritage, I owe it to Ferdowsi and many more before and after him who sacrificed and devoted themselves to this noble cause of preserving the ancient Iranian culture and stories that shaped us to be who we are, to stand up against injustice, be humble, and understand no matter where we are and what rank we hold, we are nothing without humanity and humility. Rostam, the brave hero of the story, someone who was praised by the world, ends up killing his own son because of his ego and arrogance. And because of that, he suffers immensely, being the biggest loss in his life. And that is a lesson to all of us, that being humble and letting go of our ego is what makes us human. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more history that shaped the world.